Hey yo! Well, here we are, in the depths of the Darkworm layer, and it's good to have you here, to be honest. Thanks for coming along. So, anyway, this is what I'm thinking. Is that I've just built these new screens here. I've built 5 new screens for a 5-color print job on the deck, of course. And well, why not document my process, you know, and take you along for the journey. If that's something you're interested in, well, you know, we'll do it together. If not, well, fuck you now. I'm just joking. So, obviously, first thing, we'll put some mesh on these new frames, and we'll just go from there. Now, like I say, it's a 5-color print job, so old school, you know, 80s deck, a reproduction deck, 87, I think, legendary graphic, you know it, you'll know it, fucking legendary, one of the raddest. So we'll get to that in time, you know, that's all will be revealed, but look, you know, let's go from the start. Now, I haven't got the board. Oh, hold on, no, look, this is letting the cat out of the bag right here. That's the board we're doing it on. So, yeah, take a guess. So, yeah, let's do it. Righto, we'll just go do a little run through with the stretcher setup. So that's a pre-frame. Obviously, the wooden frame sits on top of these little bolts here. We'll discuss that further as we go along, because there was an issue down here just with the height and problems with the glue. You'll find out all about that. But anyway, that's ready for some mesh. Now these little things here, these are 600mm these. Each one, so we've potentially got a length of 1200 by 600 in this particular setup. That'll accommodate our wooden frame, no problems. And so they just slide in these little teeth, these little rubber teeth mesh together here, and they clamp your screen mesh down, hold it in place, ready to put under tension. Now, okay, so we want to start on the length. So we've, as you can see, we've got the mesh clamped in here. And then we'll move on to the end. You've got your length, 2 lengths clamped in, you've got your end clamped in here. And at this stage, once they're clamped in, well, then we're going to have to trim a bit of this mesh off here. Otherwise, you can't have it, it's just going to bunch up and be a real problem. As you can see there. We'll just follow this line down on the left-hand side of these turn screws here. And give yourself a little bit of excess, you know, on the other side of these little jaws here, just to, you know, you've got a bit of excess to play with. And then same on the far end, on the short far end. This is it all trimmed, are ready to be clamped in, and then we can start looking to stretch and clamp now. So just a little tip there is, if you look in between the clamp and the frame there, just make sure when you're going along here that you've got no bunching up of the mesh, so it's nice, and you just, all you need to do is just pull at one end, and that'll just, see that, it's nice and no bunching up. Because what will happen is if you haven't pulled out any of these little wrinkles and you clamp it down, then start putting tension on, well, it's going to translate into your mesh, and you're going to get all sorts of problems. So just keep that nice and taut. Right, so we're clamped in all the way around now. That mesh is under all of the clamps and locked in place, screwed down, and that's ready to be wound out and put a bit of tension on. One thing I will say about these stretchers is, obviously you wind the handle, it pulls this whole mechanism out, but before you even start putting mesh in, make sure that this is wound all the way in. If you've got it sitting out here, you start putting mesh in it, then you go to wind out and find out you've got no adjustment. And ask me how I know that. So just every time you go to reset, put a new frame in, ready to put your mesh on. Just make sure that everything's wound back in, reset all the way around. So that, and then it means you've got plenty of adjustment to wind out once you start putting tension on the mesh. Well, basically, since this is locked into place now, it's really just a matter of going around and winding it out until you've got some tension on the screen. So, here we go. I don't want to overdo it at this point. It's easy does. Easy does. Pretty good already. Obviously not there yet. You know what? Those wrinkles need to be gone. But having said that, we don't want it tight as a drum either. Just slow and steady, really. You give it a bit of a push down, that sort of helps even things out a little bit as you're going. If it gets, say it gets caught on the edge or something, still need some more of those. No, you're not aiming for getting it, like I say, a drum tight. As an example, tensioning screens for garments, you're looking at 40 newton meters, say, whereas for a board it's probably more like 10. That's sort of on the really on the limit, right? Now you've got a gauge. There's no real better gauge than your hand. At the end of the day, that's the thing that's pulling the squeegee. Still a few creases, just folding creases from being in the bag, you know. And it'd be nice to pull those out. And I think that sort of more comes down to pulling lengthways now. You're not going to get these lateral creases pulling along the length. You're going to have to pull from the ends now, really. We'll get the gauge and we'll have a look at it. But I would consider that just going by hand probably a bit too tight. You're going to be struggling to get the squeegee down on that. That's all right though. We haven't put glue on yet, so it doesn't matter. We'll get the gauge and we'll check it out. Just got to zero this off before we can use it. It's just a matter of loosening that bad boy and getting that needle to line up. It's pretty damn good. Right, let's have a look. Let's check the screen out. Right, we're over here. It's telling us, well, heading towards 13 newton meters there. It is worth going around the screen a little bit, sort of see if you can get a bit of an average as opposed to just one position. Right down the end here, and it's giving us about the same, about 12.5. And we'll have a look up here, this end. Yeah, what have we got here? So it's telling us it's a bit tighter up that end, more like 15, which just feeling by hand is probably not far wrong. So it's actually not bad tension wise. You wouldn't want to go any more than that. You wouldn't want to go any more. I'd sooner have it tighter on the ends, on these two ends here, and then loosen off lengthways. Obviously when you're pulling your squeegee, you're putting pressure on these. This is where it is here, so I mean you want to, if you can, you want to be able to get down onto the board with a little bit of slack. And when I say slack, I mean you don't want it bunching up either. It's just, that's horseshit. I've been round again and fine-tuned. I actually tightened the ends and then slackened off both sides lengthways. And you know what, I'm pretty freaking happy with how that's feeling, to be honest. You know, you've really just got to imagine putting the force down necessary to get down onto the board, and I think we haven't got the wrinkles like we had. I mean, they're gone. And I think, and at the end of the day, you might as well go a little bit tighter as opposed to looser. It's not going to get any tighter once you've glued it and taken it off, put it that way. So you give yourself a little bit extra tension, but I'm pretty damn happy with that. That was kind of the point of the bigger screens, these slightly bigger screens too, is that because of obviously the surface area that the mesh is inhabiting, you've got more give basically from this edge to this edge. You've got a little bit more leeway, whereas obviously the closer in your freaking screen gets, well, you're limited in the force you can apply before you start putting holes in your mesh. Now another little thing just to bear in mind before we lay down the screen adhesive, I'm just going around, I'm just tapping the edge, and this is good. What we need and what we require is for this mesh to be hitting the screen all the way around, and I know it is because I fucking already tried it, but not here. I don't know, you probably can't see, but as I touch that, probably a fucking bee's dick, but it's not quite touching. So as long as you're aware of that, so what it really means is once you've laid down the adhesive, with this ball, just put some weight on here, not too much obviously, just a little bit of weight here, and that'll You can almost see it as I do that, or you probably can't. But as I'm pulling that, you can see the mesh coming down onto the screen and making a positive contact. So that's what we need. At the end of the day, if the mesh isn't sitting up perfectly on the screen, it's not going to give you the desired effect, i.e. it's not going to fucking stick. And ask me how I know that. Right. So here we go. We have Kiwi Bond 930. This is our screen adhesive.